Hello, everybody. I tell you what, it's one of those nights, and if it weren't for bad luck, I'd have no luck at all. Hello, I'm going to give you time to come in. I apologize tremendously. Mark had set up the thing, and I realized I didn't have a stream, so I rush in to set up a stream, but then my computer froze. So then I refreshed my computer screen and then I couldn't get on. And so then I unplugged my special wire that connects me to YouTube. And when I did that, I showed up in a whole different form. Hello, everybody. Oh, gosh. So I then had to leave it. And it says, well, it will cancel your live stream if you leave it, but I didn't know what else to do. So anyway, I'm here and I apologize. Sometimes I tell you, it's just like no matter what, everything is going to go wrong. And I was trying so hard, but I know if it comes in wonky, and I can't see you, or it's the wrong, did anybody see me in the old one? Because I came on and I was on my computer, my laptop camera, instead of my camera. Hello, everybody. I apologize. I am so sorry. And I'm hoping the other one, I'm hoping it actually shut completely off because what a mess. So anyway, I have been working since early this morning. Hello, everybody. Okay, it was my problem. It was my fault that we had to close it out and start again. If I don't get everything set up just right, for whatever reason, my computer froze up. Well, computers do that. So, and if I was one of these really fancy shows with the big budget and all of that, maybe it wouldn't happen, but I'm not. All right, I'm trying to trim this up. So this morning I got up, I was in a great mood, and I said, I'm going to get a lot done today. And so I started sewing right away. And okay, let's see. I'm hoping I'm cutting this straight. I'm kind of winging this because I kind of want to have it trimmed before you see it. But I got all my strips on, and yeah, it's probably not going to be perfect. No, I can see right now. Normally, and you know what? When I get the excess cut off, I will show you how to trim up one of your art quilts, because that's always very important. And the main thing you want to do is to get it nice and square and even. So I've been listening to my audiobooks all day today, having a grand time. But let me try to get this trimmed up. Let me see. Let me get this trimmed up, and then I will show you. Oh, that's where it stopped. Okay. All right. The quilt started going a little longer because I was trying to work all the stripes in, and I just seemed to run out of space. So I'll tell you all what I did for that too. Because, the one thing I've learned is when you're a quilter, you have to be flexible. You really have to be flexible. You have to roll with it because it's never going to be perfect. That's not what quilting is. Quilting is an art, not a science, so you can't expect it to be perfect. You would have to be a robot to be perfect, and who wants to be a robot? So I'm coming up the final stretch. All right. Cut all this stuff off. And this is why when you make an art quilt, make sure you add a couple of inches around every side. I sometimes think add 3 inches around each side. Well, here is my Strippy art quilt. Let me back up just a touch. Here's my Strippy art quilt. Now, let me get, okay. Let's say, how do we square up a quilt? All right. What you want to do, let me bring the camera over. And I tell you what, before I start this, can I please see who's here and make sure to say hi to everyone? Because boy, do I miss you. And now this quilt is pretty avant-garde for me. I'm really big into realism, and this is different. You did register for the quilt party. Good. And don't forget they have an hour and a half lunch every day. I take the morning part of the class. The lunch is an hour and a half, so I go back to the room and I get on the bed and rest. I get exhausted in that classroom all that time. But let me see who's here, but I'm tickled to hear Pat's going to be there too. So let's see who is here. Bonnie felt so good to see you, hon. And Laura, hi. And Mitty and Monkey and Jody. Oh, this is so great. You could see me on there. Yeah, and I couldn't seem to hear me talking. I didn't know what was going on. But, Regal Rose, so nice to see you, hon. Betty Meissner's here. You didn't see me on the first one. I was trying so hard to get through, and then I realized I'm on the wrong setup. Oh, well, I've been doing this 5 years. You think I would be better at it than this. But I told Mark, since I've been sewing all day long, I'm exhausted. So I'm hoping, Polly, hi, I'm sorry. We're just getting started now because I messed up. I did a boo-boo. Maria Mason, hello. How nice to see you. And Pat's here who's going. Yes, you have to roll with your problem quilt. Polly sent me a picture of a quilt she was making, and the fabric just looked extra stretchy. Do you ever have a fabric that just doesn't play by the rules? That's why anymore I use starch on everything, because starch is kind of the great equalizer. So I highly recommend a good, nice starch. And some people say, well, I'm afraid it'll lead to bugs that eat. I've never had that problem. But sometimes it's really, fabric is more like a living thing. It moves and stretches and bends. So any help you can get is a good thing. But if your seams get too far off, if it's just one here, there, and there, you can fix them in place. But if it's too many of them, sometimes it's easier to take out a bigger section carefully with a good sharp seam ripper, and then take each piece, take it apart, press and starch the pieces, double check their measurements, and do it again. I know that sounds terrible. I'm the queen for having nothing to line up. In fact, I was supposed to show y'all my Bargello. I have places where it didn't even try to line up. I mean, it was like, can I introduce you to this strip? You're acting like you've never met each other because you won't line up. So I understand. It's one of the reasons I love art quilts, because art quilts, only you know if you've got it lined up right. You can be very creative. It's just like that quilt right there. You don't know if it's a mistake or a design choice. So it is so good to see you, Bonnie. I love you sitting on here chatting. I love have shown pictures. Yes, romper room. I see so I know in the magic mirror. And we never did write into her, and I always wanted to hear her say my name. I was sad she never said my name. But yeah, no, nobody wants starching just because it would feel too stiff. But let me get a my long ruler, and I want to show you how to square up your quilt. And it helps if you've got one of these nice big rulers. Okay. Now, what you have to do is you have to get at least one side to where you're happy with it being square. And so let's check this out. And I was going to tell you, if you get it square, then what you might want to do is go ahead and baste around the edges. But okay, let me get some stuff out of my way. All right. Now, there's several different things you can do with an art quilt. One of them is if it's a little off, you can take your misting bottle, you can spray it and kind of pull it into submission. Now, I've got an area down here that's a little fussy. Do never iron on your cutting mat, because I've done that before and it will never be right. But let me see if I can show you right down here where this bottoms out. It's a little buckly, a little kind of scrunchy. Oh, there it is. I just got it to lay beautifully. And what you do is remember, water is your friend with fabric. So if you have any pieces that are acting up, like right here, I did some top stitching and it's not wanting to lay down, then just mist it and give it a nice spray. And the reason water works is because it will get into the fibers and relax them. And then when you come over it with an iron, you press it the way you want. So you try to get it as straight as you can before you square it. Okay? So there we go. Now I'm going to bring this back up and let me bring it down just a touch. All right. So you decide where is the easiest place to square it up. For me, it would be along this top because I drew a line. Oops, let me grab my cutting mat, slipped off the table. All right. So let me grab my cutter. And it's always best to use a rotary cutter. And the reason it's best to use a rotary cutter is because if you use your scissors, the motion, when I was trying to cut this earlier, the motion of even doing this causes the fabric to get a little wonky. So I've got my rotary cutter here, and I'm going to double check this and kind of look. Now, I can see it's got just a slight bit of a warp here. So I'm going to come in here. And what you can do is line some lines up with your seam allowances. And that will help. Then come in here. Whoops, come on. Come in here and just trim up the part that's not lining up well. Let me see. Let me put it back in place very carefully. Sometimes you can take and line your ruler up with the flat edge of your cutting mat. Hi, Sew Euphoria. So you can line it up with the flat edge of your cutting mat. and then come in and try to push hard enough. Try to go one time. Don't make the mistake of trying to saw back and forth with your cutter. If you try to saw back and forth while you're cutting, it will make a slightly different path and it'll end up all bunchy up. Hi, Ann. Good to see you, hon. Okay, so now I've got one flat side. I'm saying, yep, that's even and straight. So now what I do is I put this flat edge up here. I put it even with the line on my cutting mat. Try to make sure it looks nice and straight. But this is the line I'm saying, this is the square line there. Then I come put this nice big long ruler. I come put it on this line and I take off any little part that sticks out of that. Now, I'm going to pull this forward again. And this time, I'm going to line the ruler up with my cutting mat, bring it to the edge where I've already trimmed it. I've lined up with my cutting mat, and I cut it right along that ruler. Okay, let me grab this, put my glasses on. I did what I just got through telling you not to. I kind of ran my cutter back and forth. Not good. So now I have two straight sides. Once you get, let me show you. Once you get two straight sides, so this is perfectly straight, this is perfectly straight. Once you have that, you are on the home run. Hi, Lisa. And who was telling me? Was it Pat told me that the Alaska quilt class is sold out? So I'm just hoping. Lisa and I were so quick. I'm hoping. I'm just checking to make sure. All right. I've got this perfectly. Whoops. Get it perfectly along this side. Perfectly the same, along the same line at the top. This is really important. And then put the ruler back on, making sure you stay perfectly straight along this side. And that your top is perfectly straight. Then you put this ruler on. Line up some of these lines with lines, your seam lines or on the ruler, so you know you've got this ruler perfectly aligned. Okay, let me see. Look, bring this up. And it's important. Take the extra time, please. Take the extra time to double check and triple check, because you can think, oh, I've got it just right. And then you cut it and realize, oh no, I was looking at the wrong line. So now you see this side is perfectly straight. Now you see this, the bottom is perfectly straight. So now I have three sides that are square. Okay. Now I'm going to turn it around this way, line this up along this side, along a line on the ruler, and along the bottom. And then I'm going to come in here, right here. Oh, yeah, this side was pretty off. Make sure to line up, pick a line, and keep it running right down. Pick a line. Keep it running right along the edge. Let me double check this. This was really going to the right. Whoops, sorry I bumped the sorry I bumped the microphone. Whoops, stop. All right, so making sure it's right along this line. Now, let me see. If you have to, put a piece of tape. Don't worry about putting a piece of tape on it to get it right. Okay. Boy, this was really off. Look at this. So now I'm going to line it up again. Put the ruler right where I had it, making sure it's perfectly lined up right where I had it. And trim off that last piece. So now let's see if you can see. Oh, wow. Look at that. Isn't that nice? Nice and trimmed. And that's why nice and square and even. And then you can start measuring it from top to bottom. And it should measure up just right. And this one does. Look at that. I think it looks pretty darn good. All right. So now we've squared this up. It just takes a little time, okay? Up. Is there an earthquake? So, okay. Now I knew that Alaska class, I knew that would go pretty quick. So here is this quilt, and it's a little unusual. It's very geometric. And in fact, I had put a color here I didn't like, so I just put a piece over it and stitched it. Then I got down here and I was thinking, I'm tired of this. So what I did, this is different for a Deb. It's very avant-garde kind of, It's Jackson Pollock for me because I normally like everything to be really perfect. But when I got down to here, I was tired of doing all of these stripes. I said, I'm just going to put a solid color here and a solid piece here. I'm tired. I'm done. So what I'm going to do now that I've got this, and I've still got to decide what color I want to be my border. But this is a very kind of modern quilt for me. So here's my tree that's going to go on it tonight. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I did just sew these in pieces so it would look different and uneven because I wanted it to look like the water was starting to lap up on the beach. It's unusual. I don't know that I'll do another one this different, this modernistic, but I'm glad I did it because it's something different. It's a new tool in my tool belt. You see? So these are going to be the cliffs. You're standing up on the cliff looking down. That's why the sand is relatively dark. And I wanted to use more dark pieces. So now what I'm going to do is very carefully start to lift this off. This tree has fusible on it already. And I've got to be very careful. Try not to pull from the little tips. Try to pull from the thicker areas to the thinner, because fabric is such that if you try to pull on the little tips, it will take some. Hi, Teresa Louise. It's so good to see you. We haven't seen you in a while. And I remember that name. We've got a couple new members, I think, this week, too. I've got to check the site. I really want to get, you see, I'm already losing a couple of the points, but I think that'll be okay. And, let's say you lose a couple points and it's in a place where you really wanted that point. Well, if you've got a permanent marker, you have a new point for that branch. And especially if it's not something you're going to enter in a show, it's just for you to enjoy. There you go. Because some people do that and it kind of feels, it's part of the multimedia look. I love that now quilts are art and you can pretty much, decide what you want to do. I was trying to pull it from that branch, but it was putting too much pressure right there. So now I'm just going to try pull these off. I should have put this on parchment or on the shiny side of freezer paper. I was hoping that this golden threads would be good enough, but it's kind of stuck. And unfortunately, it's been on here for a week. So it's not, adhesives. If you leave adhesives too long on a surface, it becomes semi-permanent. And if you put masking tape or painter's tape on a ruler and leave it on there long enough, you'll have a lot of adhesives on that ruler. So I'm just going to carefully pull this up, keep pulling it off. But it's been nice to have a safe place to keep this branch so that it didn't stick to itself, become a mess. And I think, if I remember right, I think I tried to lightly iron the paper to smooth it out. And I probably shouldn't have done that. Any heat on this paper made the fusible stick more. In fact, I just pulled off a little tiny branch. So I'm going to take that and put it in a safe place. And when I get it on the quilt, I'll try to, and so if some of this doesn't quite work perfectly, then I'll make a new little part. I've got plenty of black fabric and plenty of fusible. So try to remember, if you make something, a fusible something, try to put it on silicone sheet, something very much non-stick, but also don't leave it around too long. Make it right before you're going to use it so the adhesive doesn't change on you. So as usual, I will show what do we do if this part comes off. We'll fix it. I also put the pattern on the website in the folder for the Strippy Landscape quilt. And honestly, this kind of stuff happens when you do really thin designs because fabric is a weave. And so when you cut it this thin, it's going to want to pull apart a little. But don't worry, we can always fix it. The thing I love most about quilting, it's not like doing a watercolor painting where you have one chance to get it right. In high school, I worked for an artist who did the backgrounds to the news cast. So if you remembered back to the 70s, there was a piece of artwork behind the newscaster. That was my boss, Lee Lively. He was very talented and he used pastels to do the artwork. So I worked for him by calling newspapers and magazines for images of these people so that then he could do the artwork. So like if Brezhnev was going to be in the news, then he would have a pastel artwork to go behind the newscaster. That seems odd now because, we've got video with everything. Now I want this tree to be on the hill, and I think I'm going to put it up a little high with the roots right here. And then I'm going to lay it out very carefully, very gently. Let me see. Trying not to disrupt anything more. I've got to decide how close I'm going to go to the edge. What I'm thinking of doing is putting my border around it I have had some really cool jobs. Put my border around it and have some of the branches maybe go into the border. So I might even want to move it over just a touch like this. Okay. And I'm going to have that tree leaning over like the the high winds and the salt water have just aged this poor tree prematurely. And just carefully. Now you notice I'm not going to push it down yet. I'm laying it to where I think it's laid out the right way, but I'm not going to push it down and I'm not going to iron it. Not until everything is laid out and I think I've got it the best that I can do it. Now, if you didn't want to do a tree here, you could do a lighthouse. I just wanted something in silhouette, having all the busyness going on. I just wanted the silhouette. So, okay. Let's see. I think this needs to go over here a little bit more, making sure everything is sort of laying the right way. I think this needs to come down a little bit. That's the thing. You'll think you've got it laying in the right place, and everything else goes to lay down. Then you go, oops, there's a little problem. Okay. But this was really easy to do. I did like that. I found sometimes when things are a little easier, it gives you time to work on value, to concentrate more on getting some sparkle or some value differences there. And this goes up here. All right. You know what's funny is now that I've put this up here, it's like you wouldn't know if those little tips that came off, I don't really think it shows that much. But I might want to come in and put a few extra branches too. But see, this way I can kind of keep rearranging until I think I've got the right form. Making sure that every branch has I want it to have the attention it's supposed to have. Then when I think that looks pretty good, then I will come in and first I'll remove my cutting board because these cutting mats are quite an investment. I don't want to ruin one. Never leave a cutting mat in a hot car. That will ruin it as well. All right. And you know what you can do also, if you want a few more fine branches, then what you can do is thread paint those. And now I'm just making sure that everything is getting pressed down. You notice I'm not scrubbing it with the iron. Not scrubbing it. So this week I've been working really hard on our triptych because I want to get our triptych done so then we can move on to another new project. All right. I think this is pretty good. Now I'm going to hold it up there and we'll see what it looks like. And I have a feeling I'm going to want to use some thread painting to bring the tips of the branches out even more and make them even smaller. So here, and this is just a very quick and easy strip landscape. So, and I like the tree because you can see through it, but it kind of unifies it. It was so geometric and so modern. And And now, if I wanted to, I could take thread painting and bring some detail. I could take ink tints and come in and shade things. But what this was is, how can I get movement? How can I get color in using strips? Now, if you wanted a little bit more movement feeling, you could make the strips a little smaller. But I didn't want to be doing this for a whole month. So here it is. But I think this works. And I like the different colors. It's nice to have the water there, to have a little sunset in there. But it is an art quilt and it is modern. So this is a little change from depth. It's a little change. I was looking to see if I had one of my landscapes that are so realistic, they take a long time. This is something you could do for a gift, and you could do it pretty easily. Keep this method in mind in case you wanted to do a Christmas tree quilt and you didn't want to spend a lot of time. You just have to draw out your pattern and where you're going to make the branches, how you're going to do that. But using these strips, it's pretty easy. Oh, thank you. Y'all are so kind. Here was my inspiration piece. And I don't try to copy exactly. I try to make things my own. So I get inspiration, but then I make it my own. So there we are. All right. Well, that was fun as a warm-up. So then I've been thinking, okay, what are we going to do? This was our nice, oh, and I wanted to show you. See on the back how it's quilted. So if you wanted to, you could just put binding on it and go from there, and it's done. And it might be nice to bind it with black, make it a simple art statement, and you're done. But I thought, what do we do after we do this warm-up? You're going to think I'm crazy. Oh, thank you. It does add that little bit, and I like it. It kind of makes the view kind of a peekaboo. But remember, it is so important in art quilts that we change the value to make things look further away or closer. We change the texture. Like this beach, I used a batik fabric because I wanted the beach to be like dark at sunset, the gloaming. And so I used the dark fabric that has movement, but you're not really looking. And I am a little crazy. And, but anyway, and going from a darker sky down to a lighter sky, all of that. But also putting a tree in the foreground gives you instant depth. Instantly, it becomes more real, more lifelike, more interesting. So keep that in mind. Also, try not to make everything right down the center. If you'll notice, the valley that I put in there is slightly off center. It's more to this side than the center, and then the tree is over here. It makes a more interesting landscape. So, and don't make everything the same. Don't make everything matchy. Sometimes we try to do that. Well, if I put a bush here, then I got to put a bush there. Well, now try mixing it up a little bit. This was a real exercise in me relaxing and calming down, because they don't look like clouds. They look like binding strips. But that's what I wanted, to push myself a little out of my comfort zone. So there are all kinds of ways to do our artwork. And as long as we're creating, as long as we're trying, all of them can be really wonderful. And so then what else? Oh, so I'm thinking, what are we going to do for the kickoff? I've had a month off. Thank you. It was wonderful. And I've had a month off. So what are we going to do to jump back into art quilting? I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I'm thinking of doing a portrait of my grandsons. And I'm not going to make it literal. I might make them in their favorite colors. I don't know. But do you think I've never done a portrait? Well, the one year we did a portrait of ourselves, but I've never done a serious portrait in fabric. I have done hand drawings of portraits, but I'm thinking it's time to jump in. So what do you think? Do you think? And what we're going to do it like Miss Jody. I'm hoping Miss Jody will continue to speak up and help us because, boy, we need her help. And it's going to be taking the photograph and it's going to be enlarging to get just a spot up. Like, I'm not going to do them sitting in a chair and do the whole chair. I'm going to do a little more close up on their faces and doing, I think, what Jody calls posterizing and blocking the lights and darks and contours and doing them like one of them, his favorite color is blue. And I don't know. But I want to try. We did the pet portraits last year. This is going to be a little bump up for me. And I think we can do it. And if I'm willing to try it, I think you can do it too. We'll walk our way through this. I'm going to be doing it fused and raw edge applique. And you did portraits of your grandchildren in their favorite colors. See, I love that idea. I think that would be really cool. And the timing might be good. If I can stick to it and don't give up. Mark didn't just walk by, everybody. He just wanted to let you know he wasn't walking by. But I'm thinking, wouldn't that be a great Christmas gift for their parents? So that might be something fun to do, I'm thinking. But anyway, but what do you think? Do you think you might want to try it? Yeah, did you see a ghost? Yeah, he's so funny walking by like this. But anyway, but no, I'm doing really good. I'm excited to be back to Art Quilt Thursdays. And you know what? I just wanted to make a point. I looked at the paper that I peeled the tree off of. Missing those little teeny ends of the branches didn't make a single bit of difference. And once you put it on the portrait, looks like it's supposed to. So that's the nice thing is I love quilts because I know Polly was very disappointed that her quilt was acting up. Or as they say on Driving Miss Daisy, I think the quilt was not acting up. It was acted upon. Yeah, that's the truth. But sometimes it's kind of fun, to just go, oh, what is that quilt doing? But let me throw away these scraps because, see, I'm very easily distracted and I will sit here and continue to play with those little pieces of scraps. But lately, oh my gosh, Jody, I have been using so many scraps. I mean, little scraps. Tell Mark he has to wave to you. Okay. He's in charge of dinner tonight. I have a feeling he decided I'm going to go get some fast food. So, and that's fine with me. As long as I have something I can eat, that's good with me. But, what was I going to say? See how I go back and start messing with the fabric again? But anyway, I'm excited. I'll show you. I'm going to take you every step of the way. I'll probably talk to Miss Jody this week. I don't know if Jody, if you're busy on Saturday morning, but maybe we could talk just a little bit. She said, oh, here we go. Everyone pay attention. If you want to try this, take notes. So she said, posterize the picture into 7 to 9 shades. Okay. Then enlarge and print on paper. Then use that and trace for the fabrics for the fabric, patterns for the fabric. And I'm thinking if we could Jitsi a little bit this Saturday, if you're not busy, and just kind of remind me, because sometimes I get nervous and freeze up, but I think I'd really like to do this. I'm going to look through photos of my grandsons and try to find good pictures of each one, and patterns for the fusible. And if and you have to reverse the pattern, Miss Jody, so that way when you cut it out, it's facing the right way, because the fusible goes on the back of the fabric. And if you don't flip it, and when you go to print on your printer, just look, mirror image. Oh, thank you. So if anyone wants to start getting some little heads up on how we're going to do this, let's say 11 o'clock Saturday. In fact, maybe Miss Jody can I don't know. Jody, can you show us on your computer how you posterize? But if you don't belong to our group's IO, let me find, here's my mouse. Let me put on here, if you would like to watch a little tutorial, and Jody, if you get too busy, just let me know. I'll let everybody know. I'm kind of being rude saying, Jody, can you teach us? But she is so good at this. So our time to glasses, Deb, to quilt at twc.com. There. So if you don't belong to our group's IO, because in the group's IO, we have a shortcut that tells you what is the little thing you click on to go straight to the meeting. But if you want that, if you don't belong to our group and you want to sit in and watch a pro do the job, then please, please, please send me an email. And So Euphoria says you can get a free download at Poster Razor. So, and sometimes you can do it at whatever, if you have a photo editing, or sometimes you can bring some of this up in your Microsoft. It might have some easier things, but I think we can do this. And it's just a matter of, you don't want too many shapes, but like she said, 7 to 9 shades. And you may even want, if the hair is real jiggity jaggedy, smooth it out. Don't make it that hard on yourself. So we are going to learn how to do this. And a Jitsi is like using Zoom. And we have it. It's wonderful to use. We can all sit and ask questions, talk, take notes. So show up Saturday morning. Now, Jody, what's a good time for you, hon? Because I'm sitting here. She's Central. I'm Eastern. So that might be too early. Maybe we'll say noon Eastern, which would be 11 her time. Whatever is good for you. You can use Word or Photoshop. Yeah, there you go. And I have Word. I use it for a lot of things, not just writing. So what's a good time for Miss Jody Central Time? Yes, you can see each other. You can talk freely to each other. You don't have to type. Okay, well, what time do y'all think, ladies? If I say 11 Eastern, that's 10 a.m. Central. That would be 9 a.m. Mountain, 8 a.m. West Coast. Oh, no. When I come on here, I don't have the makeup. Be prepared to be scared. I don't do my hair. I don't do the makeup. Maybe I put a little touch. I do have a little vanity, but you just come in your pajamas or whatever. I'll come in probably a t-shirt and shorts. Oh, wonderful, Miss Bonnie. Oh, that's great. Bonnie's going to be doing one of her creative anachronism where they dress for a time period. They get into character. I love that she does that. So, yay. In fact, Jody, is it still curly, hon? I love it. And I just saw who's the name of the congressman who he's just grown his hair back, and it's so cute to see him. He was wearing the East Street Band member bandanas that he gave him. So it's okay, Ann. Don't worry if you're out of town, hon. So, okay. Oh, yes. It's so cute and curly. I just love it. I just love it. So, okay. This Saturday at 11, come when it's convenient for you. We'll try to stay. I can't promise. I'll try to stay about an hour. And we'll just ask her questions, talk to her about it, and see how we make it work. And then I'm going to take notes, prepare to come and take notes. But it's really amazing. It's really, yes, her hair used to be more straight, and now it's so curly. It's so cute. So I know she's just glad to have it back. Ah, Laura's changed. Yeah, I've heard that people's will change, but because when I had my cancer surgery, I was on blood thinners for a month and a half, 5 weeks or whatever. I started losing my hair. I was getting pretty scared because I thought, what if it doesn't come back? But luckily that wears off. Everything gets better. And we just keep going, don't we? Wavy before, but now, oh, I bet you that's cute. That is so cute. All right, so I think we're pretty much done for now. We're going to do a person portrait. I don't care who you choose. If you want to do your pet, you can do it. Oh, I heard some really good advice. People who like to do really good eyes and portraits, consider buying a little piece of real silk fabric and making sure it doesn't have anything so that you can color it or paint it or get as close to the color. But silk fabric is supposed to give the best eyes. Now, I don't know where I would get silk fabric, so I'll just use what I've got on hand. But that's just a little tip I heard, that it's better at giving a depth or, softness or something. So, all right, everybody. Well, I'll show you this one more time. And then next Thursday, this Saturday, we'll get together and chat together. And then next Thursday, we're going to start our people portraits. So here, one more. This is my modern art strip or Strippy Landscape. I've been stripping this week. So there we go. Now I almost wish I had made my tree just a touch taller. I could go back in and add a couple more branches, but I'm also thinking some birds in that same black silhouette would look really awesome. So here we go. All right. You get silk from shirts at Goodwill. Oh, that's brilliant. So just remember, grab one of his ties. So I was just thinking, boy, it'd be nice. I might talk to a fabric, fabric warehouse. I would love to talk to them and say, hey, can we buy quarter yard pieces of fabric in like green, blue, brown, black, hazel? And if you could do that, that'd be great. Keep it around for whenever you're going to do eyes, because we don't need real silk's expensive, and we don't need a yard of silk. It would take us forever to use it all. Ties at Goodwill too. It's just hard to have solid ties, but all right. I thank you very much. I'm sorry again about getting things confused. I wanted to also give a shout out to our Bonnie, who's going to be going to an event. And I just love that she does that. Ooh, I wonder if she's going to take any of her hand embroidery. So she's doing some beautiful hand embroidery. Yeah, maybe buy swatches and just keep it handy. That's a good idea. That's a great idea. Is anybody doing the tie quilt with Alex Anderson? I'm not. I did though last night. I was up a little later and tie silks online. Thank you, Laura. Y'all are great. Yeah, because now that I heard from this lady who has done animal portraits for years. She said silks are the best for doing eyes. And capturing the eye is everything. You know, if you get the eye, then you've got it made. So, but anyway, but Pineapple Fabrics open today. And I'm thinking about going tomorrow. I don't know. I tell you, I used to go and film it and all that stuff, but I'm a little tired and I need to clean a house. But I'd like to go just to see. They're supposed to have some good deals and all of that, but we'll see. All right, everybody. We're going to do some more Christmas crafting or holiday crafting this week. If you saved your toilet paper rolls, bring them and I'll show you how to do that. And hopefully I have been making those paper pieced things for the triptych, 5 different colors at about 20 to 27 pieces each of each color. So I've been working on those really hard. And I think I finally have enough to actually, start putting it together because I'm taking paper pieced sparkly blocks using many different shades of that particular color and then lining them up and then cutting them into swoops and swirls. And I think it's going to be really pretty. I did go back on my pattern and I went back on my freezer paper pattern. And I marked all the 2.5 inch because the blocks are finished 2.5 inch. I marked them all out. So now I know exactly where to cut on each block to make it work. So I will show you that Sunday. All right, everybody. And I know we're going to probably start a new Sunday project. I just haven't figured it out yet. So take good care. Thank you for spending this time with me. Y'all are the best. And I'll see you Sunday. Bye-bye, everyone. Mwah. Have fun, Miss Bonnie. And Polly, if you're going to go to the sale, let me know if you found some good things. All right, everybody, take good care. You're the best. Bye-bye. And don't forget Saturday. I better write it on my refrigerator. Saturday at 11 Eastern. Bye-bye, everybody. Mwah. Hi, Michelle the Quilter. All right.